Welcome back, everybody. Just got some new materials in the mail, some 15N20 and 1095. I'm going to try some pattern welded Damascus. And I ordered these from a company I've never used before, Alpha Knife Supply. Going to send you a cool sticker with your order. I just wanted to mention them because I was pretty impressed. Their selection, prices seem pretty competitive, and fast shipping. I ordered this stuff on a Friday, and it showed up on a Monday. So that was great. Yeah, and they don't sponsor me. I ain't getting no kickbacks for saying that. I just genuinely thought Alpha Knife Supply did a great job. And the first thing we need to do is decide what length you want to cut these. Get them cleaned up. Make sure there's no scale, mill scale, spray paint. Everything's all got to come off down to bare shiny metal. And then you want to stack them and weld them. Alright, we got all our 1095 and our 15N20 cut and cleaned. Wipe down with some rubbing alcohol. Make sure there's no grease, oil, or dirt on them. And that's very important. Don't cut corners in this stage. It only takes for one of these layers not to fully weld to ruin the entire billet. And likely all this material that you bought and paid for and spent time prepping will go in the trash. So make sure you're clean. Grind off anything down the bare metal. Clean it with alcohol. Now we'll be ready to stack these up and weld them together. Here's our 1095, 15N20. We're going to alternate the layers. I got one longer than the rest to go in the center. I'm going to weld my work stick to. Alright, we're ready to break out the weld machine. We're going to run a few beads across these. Just keep in mind that after you're done with your forge weld, that any weld beads you put on there will have to be ground off. Just be mindful of where you weld it and know that you're going to have to go back there and grind all that weld off. Alright, we got our billet welded up to the work stick. Running the big double burner forge today. She's heating up. Got my anvil heater in there right now. It's a big chunk of steel. We're going to let it get hot and we'll set it on the anvil. And there's a lot of that heat will pull into the anvil. That way when you first put your workpiece on there, it doesn't draw as much heat out of it. Alright, we're just going to let that sit in there and get to put a little heat in it, maybe a dull red. Then we're going to pull it out and flux it and stick it back in there and let it soak in the heat until we get our forge welding temperature. part, you really don't want to rush. You might just want to go find yourself something else to do for about 15 or 20 minutes. You don't want to get too anxious and pull it out and try to work it before it's all the way up to forge welding temperature. So we're going to let that soak for a little while. I'll be back. Alright, we've had our anvil heater on here. Done a great job. Feel the heat all the way down in the feet of the anvil. Anvil's good and warm. Our stack of Damascus has been soaking in the forge. Probably long enough to where we can pull it out and start our forge weld. So we're just going to pull it out, get it on the anvil, give it several light taps, brush off the old flux, reflux it, put it back in the forge, bring it back to forge welding heat again, which won't take quite as long this time since it's already hot. And we'll pretty much wash, rinse, repeat that 2 or 3 times till we're confident that all our layers are securely forge welded together. We done been over it 2 or 3 times, pulling it out, giving it the light taps, trying to set the welds, brushing it, refluxing it. Now I'm switching to a bigger hammer and we're going to start applying some force. Do that probably once or twice more, and if it's not welded to that point, then we just screwed something up in the process and it'll never weld. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna let it anneal overnight because it's getting kind of late, and then tomorrow we'll take it down to the garage and grind it and check our welds, see how we did. Alright, we let our billet stay in the forge and cool down slowly overnight. That should leave it nice and soft and not too hard to grind. So now we're going to cut off our work handle and grind off all the old welds. So, that's mask ear plugs. Good work. Well, so far so good. I'm gonna finish grinding the rest of this thing off, and we'll see what we're left with. Alright, got all the scale ground off all the way around. I went over with a sanding pad on the grinder just to get the deep grind marks out. Now we're going to dunk it in the acid etch, because we got to make sure that where we welded all the layers together with the welding machine, that none of that filler material from the welding machine is left in here. It's non-hardenable material, and especially for making knives, you don't want any of that filler material from the weld showing up, especially on the edge of a knife. So we're going to acid etch it real quick, and that will show us anywhere we have a weld that needs to be removed. I don't know how well you can see it. This camera I'm using is not a very good camera. You can see all the layers in there. Right now, the spots. I've already done a bunch of grinding. I'm looking for any spot I can find. It still has the filler material from the welding machine. And I do know that I welded it on all four corners and one down the center. Looks pretty good. I think I might have got it all out on the first try. If you want to see what we're going to do with our little Damascus billet we just made, which is about 3 3/4 by 1 by 1.5. Subscribe to the channel, because this is going to be in our next video. Thanks for watching. See you later.
I hate this channel.
No! No!